can I really say that I have properly accounted for it? Was my behavior ethical? And then we look at how do these things stack up if we want to build a democracy in Nigeria. So it's really to encourage people to say, yes, there are a lot of negative sides about corruption. But if we only talk about eradication and we don't think about what we're going to put in its place, then we run the risk of everybody saying, well, I'm not corrupt, he's corrupt, I'm not corrupt. But if we turn it around and say, does my behavior measure up to it? And of course, speaking as a miserable sinner myself, I can see that there are times when I take the easy way out. I wouldn't necessarily say that I was behaving corruptly, but I wouldn't say also that my behavior really measured up to the highest standard, or quite frankly, any standards of integrity. These things happen at the small level, they happen at the high level. The point is that we should continue to aim high and continue aiming high.
See, was it some sort of test? Maybe not like the truth test, to find out everyone who had the opportunity to be on I.D.E.A.S to answer to the questions whether the I.D.E.A.S standard has been met in saying did they pass the test or to consider.
Well, it's not really a test in the sense, because really, it's a bit like the Holy Ghost, it's indwelling. Whatever we say in public and whatever boldface we put up in, when we're challenged, inside, we would ask ourselves, but did I really meet up to the standards of integrity? I mean, things like accountability are a bit more obvious, because you can say, look, you took money, have you accounted for it? You have been entrusted with public power, have you accounted for your use of that power? And so on. So I think that it's a test, but it's not one that we say, have you passed the test or not? Because, of course, everybody will say, yes, I passed the test. Don't ask me that question. It's embarrassing.
Okay. So remember that throughout the course of this I.D.E.A.S segment, I.D.E.A.S Public Square, you can send us messages on WhatsApp. At some point, at several points, we'll open the phone line, because people always said, we never get the opportunity to talk with Ayo on I.D.E.A.S, but you will have the opportunity today. 0809-597-5805 is the number on WhatsApp again. 0809-597-5805. So, during, before the Public Square, we had the countdown to the election.
Yeah.
So
Countdown 2019.
So I.D.E.A.S has always been with countdown and I.D.E.A.S in the Public Square. And so we had the opportunity to deal with several issues, especially in the lead up to the 2019 general elections. And one very interesting interview I remember was with Bankole Wellington, popularly known as Banky W.
Yes.
And he did ruffle a lot of, well, not necessarily feathers, but people did think it was really interesting to see an artist in the pop culture get involved with politics.
Well, I think that, as you said, we had a lot of, we tried to, every time we had somebody who was involved in politics on the program, we did try to ask them, about the I.D.E.A.S content in their program and their platform. In fact, I remember our first interviewee was the representative of the Africa Action Congress, who were running Omoyele Sowore for president. Yeah. And we had other presidential candidates. But one interesting thing about Banky W was that he was not, going for the presidency. He was starting small by running for the House of Representatives. And I do remember that he had expressed a lot of optimism about the electoral mathematics, because he said that the largest constituency in Nigeria, if you will, are the people who don't show up. And he said that, he called them disenfranchised, but in a way one would say that they disenfranchised themselves. He said that those were the people who were frustrated, who don't believe that the system works or ever will work. And then he gave the mathematics of the constituency that he was contesting in, which was for the House of Reps. And he said, There were 250 something thousand people who had been registered to vote in his constituency. But in the actual election, only 56,000 had voted. And that the person who won with just 30,000 votes.
Right.
So he felt that if he could energize the remaining 200,000 who had not voted but were registered to vote in his constituency, then he'd be able to get he might pull off an upset. I mean, we call it voter apathy, but of course, in the end, we remember, Aghogho, that the voter turnout in the 2019 elections was even lower than it had been in 2015.
Right.
So I think that it's still something that Nigerians also need to ask themselves about, that we complain a lot about the offerings when we only look at the two major parties. But I think that, of course, the two major parties, some of them did come onto the I.D.E.A.S program, and a lot more of them appeared in the Countdown 2019. But on the whole, there was a sort of, the contest is just between the two of us. And so they were not feeling so obliged to turn up. We had candidates who had a lot of interesting ideas, both in the idea sense and in terms of policy.
Very true.
Who came onto the program, and they were able to showcase themselves. But I think that when we as voters complain about politicians, and then we are thinking only in terms of major parties, we're not really thinking in terms of people who are outside the mainstream and could in fact make a difference. So I think that was, I think it's a problem. I mean, we talked about vote buying, Aghogho. We talked about the role of the media. I remember Kadaria Ahmed coming and talking about how it was important for the media to act with integrity, to live up to their professional ethics, and so on. And as I say, just to show that history is always repeating itself, on the 8th of February, we had a program which we talked about the comments that had been made by the Kaduna State Governor, Nasir El-Rufai, when he had talked about interference by foreign election observers, and he had said that if they don't take care, they'll be returning in body bags. And of course, naturally, the statement was clarified, I should say, and modified.
Yeah.
But as I say, history tends to repeat itself in some of these things. But Aghogho, it wasn't just elections that we talked about. Even in the Countdown 2019 period, because we had these bizarre and very messy circumstances that surrounded the issue of the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
It was just a week to the election, and then he got suspended by the federal government, by the president, rather.
Well, it was. It wasn't. It was partly by the president. There was also the role of the Code of Conduct Bureau, which was acting on a petition filed by a group that nobody had heard of before. I mean, it really had a lot of the, it really smacked of, you won't remember this, but in the days of the Association for a Better Nigeria, which stopped the June 12th, 1993 elections, you suddenly heard...
I remember very well.
Yeah, you suddenly had an association coming up and saying, we are... and they were able to change the course of Nigerian history. Well, we don't know whether the Nigerian history was changed by the removal of the Chief Justice, because it did seem to us that the allegation or the concern was that he might do some things, but
and there was a lot of concern, thinking maybe as he was supposed to inaugurate the Election Petitions Tribunal, how that will affect the elections if it happened,
But I mean, at the end of the day, the it's a fact that Nigeria's Supreme Court has never yet set aside a declared result in a presidential election. Even the election that we had in 2007, where the ballot papers were not even numbered. And of course, I mean, I've been attending virtually the Nigerian Bar Association annual conference, and I noticed that the president, who spoke through the vice president, talked about how long it takes for cases to be heard, and he referred to his own experience in election-related litigation. But it's actually very difficult in a presidential election, particularly now that there are time limits, because the size of the constituency is so huge. But when it comes to a basic factor like the ballot papers had no number, that is a technical matter that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to call witnesses from all over the federation. I thought that could have been a reason for setting aside the election, but it's never happened. And as I say, it's never happened. But then we'd had this experience or this example of what had happened in Kenya. And it may be that it was felt that the Nigerian judiciary also wanted to show that if we do, we also get liver for this kind of thing.
And I remember we had Richard Akinola on the show then. I got a short track from Richard Akinola on I.D.E.A.S when he did appear. So let's listen to this and then we come back and talk some more.
Okay.
The same scenario is playing out again because the petition by that NGO, I mean, there's one line in that petition that says that in view of that the election is coming and that the judiciary is important both for the pre-election and post-election period, again that raised some alarm that perhaps the whole thing is being orchestrated because they want to get this guy out because of post-election petitions, perhaps.
Okay, so then you have Richard Akinola. This spark of desperation eventually, Ayo.
Well, yes, because certainly there were issues that had been raised against the Chief Justice, and there was also the concern that because he's in charge of the bodies which are supposed to investigate petitions against judges. But of course, the Chief Justice himself did not say, I'm going to sit over everything. He properly stood down. And I'm sure that if the body had been meeting, they could have entertained whatever questions there were. And they would have said, this concerns you, my Lord Chief Justice. Kindly recuse yourself or excuse yourself from this meeting. And I don't think that would have, I don't think that the Chief Justice said, no, I'm not going, I'm going to stay. I think it would have, and then the sort of iron hand of the government would not have been visible. Or rather, when you have a puppet, you don't want to see the strings. You don't want to see the hand inside the glove pocket. But here, you could see the strings were being pulled. So that's why I said it was both bizarre and untidy.
Right.
And we talk about doing things and behaving with integrity. The truth is that sometimes you have to pretend to be behaving like somebody with integrity, as I said, so that you grow into the person who behaves with integrity. But also because when you don't, when you are very obvious about the fact that you are not sticking to the rules or that you are manipulating the process, then what you do is that you increase the cynicism, the lack of trust in your government. And you may think that I've got my own way in this regard, but and we'll come back to it when we come to talk about the whole COVID-19 thing.
Exactly.
When you want people now to trust you and to believe in you and to accept what you're saying, they have this backlog of this person. When did they ever speak the truth? And so it does become a problem, and they could have left. They may have been manipulating things behind the scenes, and but what we would have seen would have been the National Judicial Council meeting, sitting on the matter, asking the Chief Justice to step aside while they discuss the matter,
Right.
and then that's what we would have seen. We could have talked about this, and that, but
Right. I mean,
instead,
so many options available.
yes.
All right, Ayo, let's take a quick break, pay some bills, and then we come back and talk some more. Usually, ideas will be over by now, but this time around, all the way till the end.
I know, go.
Public Square will be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen,
This is the Public Square.
All right, welcome back to the Public Square, and it's 4:30. How time flies when you're having a fantastic discussion. The grand finale ideas, Public Square IOB is live in the studio, so you can go on Facebook and watch the live stream. If you got any questions, you can also put there. I see some questions already on WhatsApp. WhatsApp number 0809 597 5805. You can join us by telephone now, also to 0700 993 993 993. Again, 0700 993 993 993. Keep your comments short, just a minute. I hope I ask kindly so that we can be kind to the others who will be on queue who also want to contribute. So we've talked politics. We're going to go to what I.D.E.A.S did with what I.D.E.A.S did on security and the war against terror shortly. But let's get your reaction to the politics. Then I'll get back to you. Okay, so while the calls are going to come in through, maybe I take this first comment I see here on WhatsApp. From Okwe Kende, he says that he's from Ijegun. He says, IOB is very right. Except we the citizens take the challenges by ourselves, a master will never release a slave. It is the slave that will fight for freedom. The last presidential election, ruling party had 11 million votes. We have 64 million youth who do not vote. If we all come together, I think we can win the presidential election. I urge all social groups to come together. Yeah. Interesting. Let's see who we have here. Okay. Hello and good evening.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Kindly turn. Okay, it's just testing. Okay. Hello and good evening.
Good evening.
Excellent.
evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Emmanuel calling from Surulere.
Hello, Emmanuel.
Yes.
I called him to play just a minute.
I am sorry, you call in at the wrong time. The money for just a minute is gone. This is I.D.E.A.S and on the public square, so not just a minute for you, sir. Sorry about that. Hello and good evening.
Hello.
Excellent.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, madam. And good evening, Mr. Aghogho.
Excellent.
Yeah, this is Mohammed from Ikeda.
Hello, Mahmoud.
Yeah, madam. I'm always, I enjoy your program, especially a weekend like this. When I come back from Friday, first thing I would remember is to listen to the program.
Thank you.
Quickly get my radio around and then start listening. So, very, very nice program. And what you guys are discussing is very nice. And what I want you to do is that, please, you have your station already in the Abuja. That's for the North Central. We need it in the south, northeast and the northwest also. Please get your people there. Where's the other man used to call on television? I don't know what they call it, through the phone, and he used to talk about the northern and all this. So please, you people keep talk about it. I want it. Oh. We want Nigeria to move forward.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of problem in the northern Nigeria. Mm-hmm. Some of them, they are not even reporting. Mm-hmm. So the media also should help us. They should not be biased. When they are reporting, they should report the both sides. Mm-hmm. They should not report one side and leave the other side. Okay? So please, you should do more. And I'm very happy for you people. Continue to be doing a good job. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you very much, Mohammed. Maybe Ayon Rotimi will go to the northeast too.
Yeah, well, I remember when I was on the Police Service Commission, and one of the things that we did was a tour of the training institutions of the Nigeria Police, and we did go to the mobile police training camp at Goza. And it's just strange to me now to think about Goza. I mean, the senator for that area who said that he can't even go to his hometown at Goza now because of the threat of terrorism. But the fact is that people are living there. People are having to live there, and they're under the threat. And while a public officer may be a bit more of a target, the fact is that ordinary Nigerians don't have the luxury of being able to say, let me go and stay in, well, Maiduguri is not always, but at least let me go and stay in Maiduguri or in Abuja. Right. They have to stay where their houses and their livelihoods and their farms are.
Very true. Very true. All right. Let's take in some more calls. Sorry about that. You have. Hello and good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, this is Olatunji from Badagry.
Good evening, Olatunji.
I'm happy to go through today to IOB. Yeah, concerning the idea, transparency, and accountability. The youth will love to come out to vote, but the nature of the voting is so appalling. The violence, just check out what is happening in Edo State and Ondo. We should push for the signing of the electoral bill. You will see more youth coming out to vote, even maybe online or other means. Let's push for this electoral bill. More people will come out to vote.
I think that it's one can say that youth are being deterred by violence, but the fact is that the violence is not all over the place, and in a way, when you have only 1/5 of the people turning out to vote, I mean, I just go back to the figures that were given by Bank EW. How much violence was there in the Etiosa axis that prevented youths from coming out to vote? I think that, yes, there's a risk, but, if there's a risk, you run away. But you don't say that, because there's a risk, I won't even step outside. Sometimes you have to make the first move. And with a lot of these this violence and bullies and thugs, you find that when they see the crowds that are there, they have to shelve their plans. But when, I think we tend to discourage ourselves by saying, the worst could happen. Sometimes, as the saying goes, you just have to just do it. And if problems arise, I'll be the first to run away. But don't they say that cowards die many times before their death. Don't let us die before somebody has even said boo.
Let's take in maybe one or two more calls before we move over to security and the war on terror. Hello and good evening.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Please, I want to deviate a bit. Well, I no longer hear Mr. Sankore. Is he on vacation or something?
I told you.
He's not on vacation. In fact, he should have been in here today, but he had some issues, domestic issues to deal with. But he's great. He's fine. He was on last week also too for on public sphere for a long while.
He's a great analyst and very intelligent man. People should not let him go. Bye.
All right, thank you. Rotimi isn't going anywhere. I still spoke with him this afternoon. Okay, one more call. Hello and good evening.
Hello, good evening. This is Emmanuel. Who called you from Surrey?
Good evening.
Yes. As regards the voters not turning out, that is youth not turning out en masse to come and vote. I believe it all boils down to the level of education the young ones as youth get. Because growing up, I'm 25 now.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, I could observe that the youth have lost trust in the government. That is why there was a lesser turnout in 2019 election compared to 2015 election. So I feel the youth themselves have lost that trust. They don't see their leaders any longer as someone that can offer them anything of good value. So that's my thought on that.
Oh, right. Thank you very much.
I appreciate the sentiment, but the point about democracy, because the D in, as I said, in I.D.E.A.S is also for democracy. The point about democracy is that you have the tools in your hand to change your government, and the vote that is not counted is the vote that you don't cast. I mean, that's the one sure way to make sure that your vote isn't counted, is to not bother to cast it at all. And for some people, it actually is in their interest to discourage you, to be telling you that, don't bother, there's no point, and all the rest of it. But you can just imagine if it, I'm sorry if I keep on, it's just that he actually gave the figures.
Right.
But you can imagine if instead of 200,000 people staying home, half of those had turned out to vote in that I.D.E.A.S House of Rep. People would say, an upset. What has happened? What's going on in this I.D.E.A.S? Why have people turned out to vote? And it would have been a big surprise. And it would also have been, it's not the presidency, quite all right, but it would have shown the people who are failing is just between the two of us. You jump into my party, I jump out of yours, this and that. That is, but we basically, it's one hand washing the other. Right. Then suddenly something will come out of left field and they say, who is this new player? And, of course, they will try to suborn them and bring them into their camp. But the point about that candidate is that some of them were saying, no, you can't suborn me, that I'm here for the long haul.
Right. Very true. Very true. Let's move on to security and the war on terror, which is very dear to I.D.E.A also too. I.D.E.A has been in this fight together with a number of people since 2014. Bring Back Our Girls group of girls who were abducted in the dead of the night. And every other day and year, there's something about the Bring Back Our Girls that I.D.E.A Oboh is directly involved in. So we had a number of discussions around the war on terror. I think one big discussion we had was with the country director Amnesty International in Nigeria, rather. Osayo Jigo, reports that they had put out in terms of what was going on with the war on terror in the Northeast, especially I remember with what the security operatives were doing.
Yeah, Aghogho, I mean, because the issue of accountability, as we've always said, it's not just about money. It's also about accountability for the lives and security of Nigerians. But and that's why, as I'm sure you will know that the concept behind the Bring Back Our Girls campaign is that government is accountable for the lives and security of the kidnapped children. And it's not that it's responsible for the actual kidnapping or for the crime, but that it is responsible to account for them. And the same thing happens also when it comes to the way in which the government is waging the war on terror and the war on insurgency, the war against banditry, and so on. Because we may think that these problems just arise out of nowhere. And, I've often heard Rotimi talking about the importance of the governance issues, which are at the root of some of these problems. But also you have the push factor of when the war is waged in a way that is not in accordance with the human rights and humanitarian requirements, then what it does is that it pushes more people into the arms of terrorists and insurgents. And, it's very clear that Nigerians really don't want to know how did you get there. As we see from the reaction to the rehabilitation programs, they just want to say, well, if you got there, however you got there, we don't want to hear from you. We just basically want you not to be there. So I think that it is important that we don't, that the war is waged in a way that does not keep on feeding the beast. As you said, we had Osai. Oghogho.
And you've been in the eye of the storm, especially with the state actors in trying to understand what their role is when they've asked questions about how the war is being fought. And many times have, to the point where you even had protesters demanding that Amnesty International leave the country.
Well, I mean, the thing is that the people who are in Amnesty International Nigeria are Nigerians, and they what they're saying is that because we are Nigerians, we want our country to do a better thing. I mean, it's one thing to want to win the war against terrorism and insurgency, banditry, and even criminality, kidnapping and so on. But if we want to win it in a way that would make us proud as Nigerians and in a way that will prevent it from coming back bigger than it was or worse than it was. And I do remember that Osai Oghogho, she did ask questions about, if the government is arresting people they are reviewing their training practices for soldiers in the field, the issue was that have those who have transgressed against international law, have they been brought to account? Have they been tried? It's not enough to say that we are dealing with it. If people are held to account, then it's also a warning to others, and it also sets a standard for others, and it tells people that there is a standard, because what she pointed out, and I'm going to quote her if I may, that and the general insecurity we are seeing in the country is because people do not trust the security forces to keep them safe, and that they will be fair, and that those who have committed these crimes will be held to account. And instead, the cycle of violence continues. And, Aghogho, on the 12th of April last year, we marked the 5th anniversary of the kidnapping of the Chibok girls. And, we've now had the 6th anniversary. But on the 23rd of February this year, our guest, if you remember, was Ear Jonathan Ichava of Nigeria Mourns. And, they had produced a report on mass atrocity deaths. I don't know if we have...
let's listen to Ear here.
So for some years now, I think for about 2 years now, we had started the process of basically tracking the killings, because one of the things we saw that was coming out first with the Boko Haram insurgency and then various things happening around the country, was you just hear these sensational reports. This has happened in this place. 1,000 people have died or 300 people. And
Unnamed
then
people.
Unnamed ones. So we're not even named, not properly accounted for. And then one set of authorities is saying that's not true. It was less. Another group of people are saying it was more. Sometimes the communities affected would say this or say that. I remember we had things like that in Agatu and several places and so on and so forth. Even when, for example, Abuja bombing happened, if we remember that bomb that happened on the outskirts,
Yes.
you know, we didn't have a clear figure.
No.
And what struck me is that till today, there has not been a consistent list of victims, you know, that we can say, or the government can authoritatively say that this has happened. Some of that has started happening. So what informed this was that we need to really be able to say, okay, these are the numbers of people that have died and corroborate these happenings.
Okay, so that, yeah. So I think what that is really trying to do is to really put the issue of accountability front and center.
Right.
Because of the way that we are, you know, Africans are often accused of taking life cheaply. And it's not that we take life cheaply. It's just that there's nothing for us to expend our energy on. There's nowhere for us to go for redress. There's nowhere for us to say, did my relation, my loved one, were they affected in this incident or not? Because the government cannot tell you. I mean, you compare it with the 9/11 situation in the United States. Every single person who was killed in that atrocity has been and
then you see memorials going back to the Vietnam War, the Korean War in DC, where all the names of the people are there, and you have relatives go. And people have pressed for such. Maybe we have memorials of the Civil War, every single conflict, so that we know that these are the people, and they have relatives who can come there and, you know, pay their tributes every now and again.
Exactly. And I think that that it's not that we take life cheaply. It's just that we have nowhere to show that we care. And part of the problem of that is that our government doesn't care, and it doesn't give us an outlet. But I think that not having that outlet is not good for Nigeria. It doesn't really it doesn't address the issue of accountability. And when there isn't that accountability, as I said, what we try to do at I.D.E.A.S is to let people know that we're not saying you killed these people. We're not saying that you kidnapped them. We're saying that you have to account for them, because the whole purpose of our having a nation that has come together is one of the first reasons that people come together is security. And we have entrusted you with powers. You know, we get to the stage now where the state no longer has the monopoly on violence. Okay, but nonetheless, the state has the accountable, is accountable for the force that we put into its hand. If we put a gun into a soldier's hand, we expect that soldier to be able to account for it. If we give a police officer the right to lock somebody up, we expect that police officer to be able to account for it. And we can't have a situation where it only applies to the known people, the people who know somebody, and so on. And of course, yesterday I was listening to, as I said, the Nigerian Bar Association, and we had Aisha Mohammed Oyebode, and she was talking about an assault on her brother, who is the son of a former head of state, and you know, again, the perpetrator alleged to be somebody who knows somebody. The file disappeared. And when you have a situation where such things can happen, and you think that it will only stop at the level of, you know, the ordinary man on the street, you find that it creeps up and up and up. And that's why you have this situation where people say, well, the government thinks it has a monopoly on violence, but it doesn't. And so we need to, if we are going to bring it back, then we have to see that government is treating every life as an important life. There's no point in our saying Black Lives Matter and wagging our fingers at the United States. It is terrible what's happening there. But, I always feel a little bit somehow if I always hope that our government will just keep quiet so that nobody turns around and say, well, they don't matter in your country.
So true. I'm saying maybe we take a couple of calls on this one.
Okay.
Before we take a break for the news at the top of the hour. 0700 993 993 993. Let's talk about security and ideas, whether, those discussions have happened and questions have been responded to in a way you think. So many messages on WhatsApp. I'll take one very quickly while the calls are populated. This one, Ayo, is from Chukuma in Okota, who says that, but they're still on the politics issue. Reginald Chukuma says, coming out to vote is not just the issue, but security of voters is vital. We were harassed at Okota when we came out en masse to vote, and at the end of it, our votes never counted. How sure are we that electoral violence would not happen another time?
I know. I let me say that. Yeah. When I said that it is not everywhere, that's not to say that it is not somewhere. And the truth is that in certain parts of Lagos, there were serious issues. But even then, people were still able to turn out to vote, even within that place. Many of them were able to vote. And as I said, it's if it's me, I too will run away. I don't blame people for running away. But what's I think is very disturbing is when they have so taken hold of our mind that we don't even come out. I salute those people who did come out. I don't criticize them for running away in the face of violence, though.
All right, let's take one call before we go on a break. Let's see. Sorry about that. Okay. Hello and good evening.
Hello. Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. We're here. We can hear you. Ayo is here too.
Yeah. Good evening, the lady in the studio.
Good evening.
Wonderful. Yeah. Let me also use this opportunity to thank Mr. Rotimi. He's always doing the job very well. Yeah. My name is I.D.E.A.S Okori. I'm calling from Oboh.
I.D.E.A.S, go ahead.
Now, if you are looking at war on terror, it demands sincerity and seriousness. If you look at the war on terror in Nigeria, it's just some group of people who are trying to create environment or set an environment for Al-Qaeda or Taliban to be in place in this country. Because most of all this war on terror in Nigeria are man-made.
All of them are.
Hello?
I think all of them are man-made.
Yes, I'm just listen carefully. If you look at one cannot continue to do something that he did yesterday, if that failed him. There must be a change. For instance, when the U.S. they were fighting war on terror, they had a general called General Stalin McChrystal. The man was not giving them the good results. U.S. soldiers and others gathered at a point called West Point. They changed the man to General David Petraeus. Not up to a year, Bin Laden was found. So why not change the general we have? I mean the army, the chief of army staff, the defense staff, to somebody who is not a Muslim, who is not from the north, so that let us know whether these boys they are just serious people or they are just gear scouts that are being pampered and they're giving us headache, to make them appear as if they are strong.
All right, I.D.E.A.S.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
I think that the point that he has made, because we've often mentioned it, that the president is particularly slow and reluctant about changing what is seen not to be working. And the point is that he may be very patient, but his electorate, his constituency, and that means everybody in Nigeria, does not have the time to be patient. And, he's given these people 5 good years now to tackle the problem. Yes, we accept that there have been fewer bombs. We haven't seen bomb attacks in Abuja. We haven't seen, we've had some of the kidnapped victims return, but we've still had kidnappings. And in fact, insurgency or the lack of security has spread from just the Boko Haram and ISWAP in the northeast to the northwest and so on. So it's really difficult for many of us to understand that these people that you have entrusted with the power to preserve and secure our lives, they are found wanting.
Absolutely. All right, Ayi, let's take a quick break. We'll take a break. When we come back, if the news of headline news at the top of the hour, and then Public Square will continue. Stay with us.
Public Square will be right back.
The themes agenda of its administration. Also, Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje is due to sign the death sentence passed on 22-year-old Yahya Sharif Aminu by the Upper Sharia Court for blasphemy. The Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria has elected Festus Osifa as its new president, while the Civil Liberties Organization is calling on political leaders to, at all times, demonstrate patriotic ideals and implement people-oriented programs. The Central Bank of Nigeria says it will, on August 31, resume the sale of forex to bureaus d'change. And on the foreign scene, U.S. President Donald Trump is concerned about his Democratic challenger, Joe Biden. He says he may demolish the American dream if he wins the White House in November. Wearing a face mask in public has become mandatory across Paris amid a surge in COVID-19 cases in France. In entertainment, R. Kelly's lawyer wants his client's immediate release from jail after he was allegedly attacked by another inmate. And in sports, NFL side, the Baltimore Ravens say the United States must tackle racism head on. You're still listening to Public Square on 99.3 Nigeria Info. I'm Yvonne Okaifo.
Public Square will be right back.
Hey guys, it's your Deals Plug, and as usual, I've got the best news in the market. And of course, it's just for you. If you were thinking that the football season was over, you were absolutely right. But if you're thinking it's already back on DSTV so soon, then you're absolutely right. The new football season kicks off in Wembley. Arsenal and Liverpool fans can't wait for all the bragging rights as the Gunners and the Reds go head-to-head in the FA Community Shield. It's a champions affair and football fans can't wait to see which champion starts the new season with a win. Find out in the FA Community Shield this Saturday, the 29th of August by 4:30 p.m. live and in HD on SuperSport 3, Channel 223 and SuperSport 10, Channel 230. The FA Community Shield will be available to all DSTV customers, so stay connected and don't miss it. The Premier League will also be resuming, and Liverpool will have to fend off 29 clubs gunning for their title. Winning the league back-to-back is not beans at all, but we'll see if Jurgen Klopp has a secret strategy up his sleeve. Ighogho and Manchester United went trophyless last season, and as painful as that was, fans of the Red Devils still hope for a hotter season with brighter performances from their stars. Reconnect now and don't miss the action from the new EPL season, starting Saturday, the 12th of September on SuperSport. La Liga also starts on the same day. In Serie A, Niger boy Victor Osimhen will lace up his boots for Napoli this season. Juventus also hired club legend Andrea Pirlo as their new manager, and we can't wait to find out if his coaching is half as good as his playing. Anticipate the return of Serie A on September 19th live on SuperSport. There's so much live sports on DSTV, and it gets better and better. It's the world's best sport and football on SuperSport, exclusive to DSTV customers. Download the My DSTV app from your app store, make payment, upgrade, or fix common errors on the app. Make sure you stay connected from as little as 2,565 Naira per month to catch all the live action from the FA Community Shield this weekend and more in September.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is The Public Square.
All right, welcome back to Public Square, and Public Square special today with I.D.E.A.S grand finale. I wish we were not going to say so, and we have Ayo here every other Friday from what we're getting, but it's what we're doing today, looking at what a wonderful 2 years it's been with I.D.E.A.S, looking at all of the big talking points. Remember, you can join us online at Public Square NG, at Nigeria Info FM, at I.D.E.A.S Radio NG, at Ninja. Any of these handles, questions, comments, we would entertain them. And more importantly, we are also streaming this live on Facebook, which means you can watch and see everything happening. Also, remember on WhatsApp, 0809-597-5805 is the number to send the messages and comments to. And we're also taking phone calls every now and again. So, Ayo, we've talked about security and the politics lead up to the 2019 general elections, and now we're going to look at accountability, which has always been a lot around the political office holders and how they handle the money. I remember you joked once and you said if any journalist worth his salt was going to do something, will land in trouble or hot waters. If he goes after the money, they will definitely come after you.
Well, I think generally, I mean, it's what we saw under the military dictatorship, that once you start asking about, they don't mind if you're talking about, and saying human rights, democracy, and so on. But once you start looking into where they're getting their money and where they're keeping it, then you become a danger.
Yeah.
And
who's bankrolling? Yes. Who's bankrolling who?
I've been made to understand that that phrase is can be seen in a very negative light.
Yes.
So you could be asking who's sponsoring me, just as I might say. I mean, you could ask me who's bankrolling the I.D.E.A.S segment. But it would be nicer if you were to say who is sponsoring the I.D.E.A.S segment on the Public Square, and I would tell you that it's the MacArthur Foundation through the Center for Information Technology and Development. But of course, that I don't mind being asked the question. I might ask that it be rephrased, but I don't mind being asked the question because really, I dare say that I don't have anything to be ashamed of in the fact that this program is being sponsored. So, and I think that we do talk about the money. I mean, I've tried to explain that ideas is a concept that that goes into it permeates every aspect of public life in Nigeria. You can look for it everywhere. But of course, it's a lot about the money.
Right.
And that's why it was, we were really glad, or we were actually very fortunate that, first of all, we had, I know that I've always said I'm a big fan of Tracker NG.
Yeah.
They follow the money. And what they've been doing for several years now, as they said, they started when they found that funds that had been donated for flood relief were just going, that political party bosses were drawing up lists, and that was where the money went. And so they started tracking how money is being spent, money that's meant to get to ordinary people. Particularly, they were looking at constituency projects. And so we had the head of Tracker, Wadamen Ilev Baoje. I should say that Tracker is actually a division of Budget, which again is one of those organizations. You see, we in Nigerians, we like the romance of, let's overthrow them, let's have but at the end of the day, whether you have a revolution now or you have it today, we had revolutions yesterday. And at the end of it, you still have to make sure that whoever comes in after your revolution is going to be held accountable. And that's why it's not necessarily the glamorous, we can all get out. But when the dust settles, you still have to come back to that issue. And that's why groups like Budget and Tracker, which have made, they've made that accountant's job exciting, interesting, because people can see that it's having an effect. I'll just remember Wadamen. He said that they'd been doing this constituency projects implementation, and that they found that a lot of it was being tied to quote and unquote empowerment. Or you will say that you're buying motorcycles to empower people to do Okada,
grinding
and
machines,
so on.
And all of
and they would say, well, if you're buying motorcycles, who are the beneficiaries? Can we see the basis on which you are distributing these, and so on? And then we found that, I remember asking him that, why is the price of these individual items so high? Is it that when you get your Okada or your grinding machine, you also get some training in running a business and so on and so forth? And he said that, I remember he said, I'm just going to quote him, he said that there was a 60 million naira provision to supply grinding machines. So I asked him, how many grinding machines? And he said that he had called a lawmaker, or that a lawmaker had spoken to him. He didn't want to give the person's name. That the lawmaker called him and said that he had a constituency project and he had priced a grinding machine. And that the price that the lawmaker, found was between 30,000 and 36,000. But that the ministry, department, or agency to which they had awarded the project was costing it at 250,000 naira for one grinding machine. You can see the level of inflation of the cost. And in fact, we were saying that, so these pepper grinders, they must be millionaires. And he said that the lawmaker, this particular lawmaker, said that, no, I can't be a party to that. You want to buy a grinding machine that costs 40,000 or 30-something thousand naira for 200, and no. He's not going to be in that. And he also gave the example of keke napep. He said ordinarily it should cost 400,000 naira, but that if you look at it, the way they calculate it, that they were pricing a keke napep for 1.2 million naira.
300% increase.
It's really quite. It goes beyond ridiculous. It's actually obscene, if we have to be truthful. It's obscene, and but fortunately, Tracker had also given examples of these legislators, when they're asked about, they say, no, I only nominated it, it's nothing to do with me. And then they found that some of these legislators are keeping the items. There was one of them that they found, he had hundreds of motorcycles and sewing machines in his compound. He wasn't giving them out. Maybe he was waiting to release them It's in the run-up to the election.
Yes.
But the point is that these are people who are saying, "No, nothing to do with me. I don't have anything to do with it," and they have their fingers all over it, and they're hand in glove. They take it, as they said, to agencies where they can control things and so on. But we also, after we had Uadam, we also had the chairman of the ICPC, because you may know that the ICPC started working with Tracker on this issue of constituency projects. You know, the inflation, of course, the non-performance, the ones that do perform, they make sure that they put their name all over it and say donated by, and so on and so forth. So the ICPC came in and they talked about this issue of apparent price inflation. I don't know if you have the clip.
So let's hear Professor Bolaji Owosanoye.
Yes.
Yeah.
First of all, the value for money component, needs to be reviewed. So whereas the majority of the projects were actually done, but they were not very well done, because we took quantity surveyors along with us. So if you built a school or built a hospital and you said it cost 100 million, and the quantity surveyor is saying what is on the ground, yes, there's a building there, but it's 50 million. So then we'll question that. So we need to change the practices that
in that kind of case, what then happens?
Okay, so a lot of things can happen. We could ask that the quality be improved. We could ask for the balance. And in some cases, we have asked for the balance. We could then use that report to say, okay, how did you arrive at these figures so that they can reconcile professionally? The reason we took quantity surveyors along is also in case we need to go to court. The evidence of an expert is what will stand the test of scrutiny, not our own evaluation, not our own assessment and all that. So we brought, and they did it pro bono with us, all the projects that we looked at, so that if we need to take any matter to court. But what we want is what can deliver value to the people.
So the chairman of ICPC, Professor Bolaji Owosanoye there.
And I think that if we see more of that, it's, again, it's not the, we're on the streets, but it's the kind of systemic change that we need to have in this country. If people are going to get it through their heads that you cannot just be stealing public money and put it in your pocket. You know, that's it. And another of the systemic changes that came up was this question of the open portal.
Yeah, open treasury.
Open treasury portal, where the money that is voted is being tracked. And if we had Mr. Tunji Andrews last December on I know he's a favorite of this station, but he also came onto the program.
Yes, so let's listen to Tunji Andrew here.
Can I also ask, I mean, I know that my time is coming to an end, but, I mean, this was launched with a lot of fanfare and, a great deal of... but I just wonder, does that mean that we are pioneering in this, or...
Oh, no.
You mean that other
Not
countries...
at all. In fact, we are so behind on it.
We're late to the party.
We're late. That's probably why the EU paid for it in the first place. They're like, you guys don't have it? All right, we'll pay for it. So yes, it should be standard practice in any country that generates data, and that means any country basically. There should be a standard practice of publishing existing data, and the National Bureau of Statistics and the Central Bank do it in silos. But this is a first step into making all those things expenditure more public, and we appreciate it, but we're saying we can do more.
Well, I mean, I think in the end.
In the end.
and what I think I was going on to say was that it may be put out in a form that is supposed to sort of just bury us in figures, but that there are groups like Budget which are going to say, you can't bamboozle us with that kind of thing. And they'll go through it. And they went through these figures and they've come out with... and
interestingly, we work a lot with the Bureau of Statistics and all those reports that come out. But it's amazing that you still have state actors who doubt the veracity of those reports. I think it was the governor of Delta State the other day saying that, I don't understand how they came up with this underemployment and employment figures. They need to come to my state so I can show them the farmers that have been employed. But
I mean, no problem. And the thing is that even if he does his own surveys and his own statistics, they would still be asked to show what is your methodology. and so on. And that's what the National Bureau of Statistics does. It gives its methodology.
Yeah.
But I think the point is that, governors are sort of treating figures that are not favorable. Instead of treating them as an indictment, they need to see them as a challenge so that they can say, well, last year it was this year it is that. But if you start off lying, when things improve, who's going to see that you have made an improvement and congratulate you for that? I think it's a problem where we want to conceal the facts. The great thing about the Open Treasury portal is the transparency that is going to bring. Now, as I said, there was an attempt to obscure that transparency, but groups in Nigeria are not going to allow themselves to be fooled. And of course, eventually the government will end up having to put those figures out in a way that we can all take advantage of them and see what is being voted for what.
Right.
So I think that the importance of openness, it's one of the I.D.E.A.S principles that we want to see, carried forward.
Like a culture.
I mean, as I say, we all like to say that it is the indwelling Holy Spirit that makes us holy and behave with integrity.
Yes.
But it also helps if you know that there's somebody watching over your shoulder to see what you're up to.
Absolutely.
And, the combination, the push and the pull, can take us to the promised land.
All right, let's go 360. We're live on Facebook, and I see several comments in. So the Facebook people saying we're not giving them attention. But thank you for watching. We're on to you now. Tony Gemono says, what of Mr. Sankore? He's fine. Isaac watching from Ikeja. Sorry, Zico. I hope Ikeja is okay now after that helicopter crash. Good to watch live for the first time. Why do you want to stop I.D.E.A.S? This is Godfrey. I've missed Mr. Rotimi in the studio. I've absolutely missed his in-depth analysis. Bring him back. He's not gone anywhere. And he says, well done, Madam Ayo Obe. Watching live, thank you. Osani Bright. Joseph says, nice seeing Ayo on Public Square. Nice seeing you too, Joe. Kingsley asks about Mr. Rotimi. He's fine.
I said it at home, but Rotimi's fans will say, I hope you're not replacing Mr. Rotimi with that woman. And no, don't worry. Yeah, Mr. Rotimi is not being replaced with this woman.
Yes. And I.D.E.A.S is with us always, but let's take some calls. 0700 993 993. Remember when I patch you through, if I move away from your radio set so that we don't get the feedback. Hello and good evening.
Hello?
Okay, move away from the radio very quickly.
Hello?
Good. We can hear you now, sir. Go ahead. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
Please. I want please, I'm interrupting you. Very sorry about that. Please, I want Mr. Rotimi's telephone so that I can console him, please, for the death of his father.
Okay, if you go on Twitter, he will reply.
I don't have Twitter.
Oh, you don't have Twitter?
No, I don't have anything. I have your telephone, please.
Well, they can't be given out.
Oh, we can't give his number, but I wish you can go on Twitter. He will respond to you on Twitter. If you have any loved one there, your children or friend on Twitter, then you can help you with that, sir. Thank you very much.
Anyway, when he sees the recording of this, he will know that somebody called in to wish to condole him.
Yes. Okay. Hello and good evening. Oh, sorry about that. Hello and good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Excellent. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
Paul from Egbeda.
Okay, Paul, please go on.
How are you doing?
We're fine.
Okay. My sympathy for Mr. Rotimi.
Yes, I'm sure he'll hear.
Yeah. Concerning accountability and security, I want to ask your guest a question about the last election. There were some individuals, like in Lagos State here, precisely Okota Aghogho area, where some individuals came to pick up the ballot boxes, and they were mobbed, even almost being killed. We saw it on television, and it was reported, nationwide. I want to find out what happened to that individual. Have the journalists or this organization taken it up to find out if that individual was let to go scot-free after disturbing the peace of the public and also violating the electoral law? That's number one. Number two, all those that were caught on electoral malpractices, up to today, because I listen to Nigeria Info, Wazobia, they are wonderful people. I read newspapers every day. I've not had anybody that have been sentenced or jailed for election malpractices. And those that shot people and killed, I have not heard or read where they were taken to court, tried, and jailed. And the election is fast approaching again. By next year, we'll be counting the next 2 years or thereabout.
In fact, next month Edo has election.
Okay.
Month,
So,
right.
One of the things that I found not too interesting in this part of the world is that we make references of things in America and Europe. And we try to copy it without implementing it.
Okay, before you start to answer the question, let I.D.E.A.S respond. Thank you very much.
But I think he makes the very good point about impunity, because and in a way it's our fault, both as and I'm very happy that he said that he continues to listen and to monitor and to see what is the fate of these people, because the fact is that the media eye goes off these things. Now, if you remember when late President I.D.E.A.S came to power, he set up an electoral reform commission.
Right.
And one of the recommendations of that commission was that there should be, that the obligation or the duty of prosecuting people for electoral offences should be taken away from INEC and put in the hands of a separate commission whose job is to deal with electoral offences. Now, obviously, murder and assault, firing weapons, those are criminal offences, whether they're being done under the cover of an election or not. But if you had a separate body, then it would also have responsibility and it would be able to monitor whether these things are happening. But as it is, the expectation is that the media will say, well, nothing is happening, and they don't continue asking. So that when you see the the INEC, and do those who have access to INEC and so on at press conferences and so on say, on such and such day in Lagos, 9 people were killed during the course of the 2019 election.
Right.
What has happened to the cases against them? You know, I think that there's always this expectation of amnesia on the part of people, that we will get tired and go away. That it's one of the reasons why I continue to hammer on the Bring Back Our Girls. We said that whether you like it or not, we are going to continue asking. We're not going to live up to your expectation that the Nigerian people have short memories and will soon go away. Right. So I commend that last caller actually for not forgetting, and I would hope that his call will remind some enterprising journalists not only to talk about bankrolling, but also to talk about, when they meet the appropriate people, say that what has happened?
Very true.
What is going on? Impunity is, we think it helps, but in the end, it destroys.
Absolutely.
We need to deal with
it. Okay, we'll take a quick break. We come back for the final half of Public Square with I.D.E.A.S. The call lines are open. I see lines buzzing, as well as the messages on all our social media platforms. Try as much as possible to take them. Please stay with us.
Public Square will be right back.
Hey guys, it's your deals plug, and as usual, I've got the best news in the market. And of course, it's just for you. If you were thinking that the football season was over, you were absolutely right. But if you're thinking it's already back on DSTV so soon, then you're absolutely right. The new football season kicks off in Wembley. Arsenal and Liverpool fans can't wait for all the bragging rights as the Gunners and the Reds go head-to-head in the FA Community Shield. It's a champions affair, and football fans can't wait to see which champion starts the new season with a win. Find out in the FA Community Shield this Saturday, the 29th of August by 4:30 p.m. live and in HD on SuperSport 3, channel 223, and SuperSport 10, channel 230. The FA Community Shield will be available to all DSTV customers, so stay connected and don't miss it. The Premier League will also be resuming, and Liverpool will have to fend off 29 clubs gunning for their title. Winning the league back-to-back is not beans at all, but we'll see if Jurgen Klopp has a secret strategy up his sleeve. Ighalo and Manchester United went trophyless last season, and as painful as that was, fans of the Red Devils still hope for a hotter season with brighter performances from their stars. Reconnect now and don't miss the action from the new EPL season, starting Saturday, the 12th of September on SuperSport. La Liga also starts on the same day. In Serie A, Niger boy Victor Osimhen will lace up his boots for Napoli this season. Juventus also hired club legend Andrea Pirlo as their new manager, and we can't wait to find out if his coaching is half as good as his playing. Anticipate the return of Serie A on September 19th live on SuperSport. There's so much live sports on DSTV, and it gets better and better. It's the world's best sport and football on SuperSport, exclusive to DSTV customers. Download the My DSTV app from your app store, make payment, upgrade, or fix common errors on the app. Make sure you stay connected from as little as 2,565 Naira per month to catch all the live action from the FA Community Shield this weekend and more in September.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is The Public Square.
Okie dokie. And this for the final half as we touch base on Public Square and with I.D.E.A., the grand finale I.O.B. live in the studio, believe it or not. And because of the corona virus is why Ayo and Rotimi haven't been in the square, but they've been joining, of course, via telephone and online, all the conversations. And so we have the ideas, interestingly, also. Was it last time you were in the studio? Yeah. Yes.
I mean, in fact, it's interesting, Aghogho, because we were just facing this, up to the reality of coronavirus. And I remember talking about what was coming down the line. I mean, I had referred to, as I said, to the United States and Iran, which were countries which were having quite a lot of coronavirus cases. And contrasting the fact that in the United States, they were always fact-checking their president and finding that he wasn't speaking the truth. And that in Iran, the people were being asked to, make these sacrifices for corona to prevent the spread of coronavirus. But they were in a country where their government had shot a plane out of the sky, and the government had denied. It was only when the accident instructor said that we are coming to inspect and the black box and they were going to shoot. And then the government had to say, oh yeah, actually we did shoot the plane. And so the people were sort of, so our government can lie like this, And so it became, now after the government has lied like that, then the government is now telling them, now you have to trust us that this is what you need to do to combat coronavirus. And so it's the same thing with our own government here, that the government is telling us things. And it's been a constant refrain. People don't believe in the reality of coronavirus. I think you have a clip.
Yeah, let's
talking about it.
Let's roll back the months.
And you might say to yourself, well, why does it matter if people believe or don't believe? But we're asking a lot of people when we say that we need to be responding as a nation to the coronavirus. And if people are sort of doubting everything that government says, doubting whether from the beginning they said they were on top of the matter, and people were doubting them. And then the chair of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission was reported as saying that the virus is caused by corruption. Now, most people felt that, it's a strange thing to say, but unfortunately his organization said, no, what he meant was that the effect will be worse than or as bad as corruption, and they tried to put some spin on it, and they were busy dressing it up, and people were bringing out the tape and saying, but this is what they meant. If he meant to say something else, then he should say, he can say, oh, my words, tongue twisted. I meant to say, but they were busy putting out this story, and then he came and said, yes, it's caused by corruption, because there was now somewhere else that somebody had said. And the point is that it seems to me that the end result of all this is to say that, what are these people saying that is the truth? And I think it's an important factor, because you've seen the situation in some cities in China, a whole city closed off and shut down. That demands a tremendous amount of sacrifice on the part of the people. In Japan, schools closed for...
Right, and in Japan, the Prime Minister resigned today.
Yes.
Oh dear, so how time flies. But the coronavirus, it's the corona year we're beginning to find out.
Because it's in fact, the coronavirus is an encapsulation of the I.D.E.A.S issues, integrity, the integrity of the figures. We had an organization that said it's going to be testing millions of people by the time as we're sitting here now. We're nowhere near that. We're not even, I don't even think have we even reached 500,000?
Just about, we haven't, we're still under 500,000.
Yeah, this is the, so the integrity of the testing, the integrity of raising huge amounts of money and saying, it's interesting because Budget published a map showing the states which have accounted for the coronavirus funds that they have received. I'm happy to say that Lagos State is one of the states that has accounted. But the vast majority of the country has not, the state governments have not accounted for the funds that they have received. And on top of that, there was a central bank. I think I mentioned that I had put in some money into the central bank fund so that I would be there like that irritating shareholder who can say, what did you do with my 10,000 naira? What do you mean? What is your 10,000 naira? Because when other people were asked to put in 500 million, I said, I don't care. I want to know what's happened to my... Because if you are exact in small things, you will be exact in large things. Fortunately, Mr. Femi Falana, SAN, has actually taken the matter up and is asking the central bank to account for the money that it collected. And the point is that it's a bit like this whole Kama thing. The issue is not that you are to be presumed to have stolen the money, but that you are supposed to account.
Right.
And when you have the knowledge that you have to account as part of your operating system, then you know that I better not try some things. And honesty becomes a habit. As I say, let's pretend to be the thing that we want to be so that we can grow into being that thing. But if we sort of say, I don't have to account to, I've spent it on this, I've spent it on that. Because even these things like, as Professor Oasonye was saying, the cost at which you buy things is an important factor. That when people feel that there's so much money available, then they begin to charge and to spend money as if it's going out of fashion.
Very true. So let's take, we just have some time now to open the phone line so we can get people's reactions on WhatsApp 0809 597 5805. Again, 0809 597 5805. That's on WhatsApp only. And then you can go to the phone. I didn't realize there was a call handler. So the calls were being screened. Okay, I see that Joy is calling in from Okota. So Joy, we'll take you in straight away. Hello, Joy.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Joy.
And good afternoon, Mommy Obey Ayo.
Ayo means joy.
Ayo means... Thank you for the good work you are doing, Mommy.
We are trying.
We appreciate you. Mommy, I'm calling you with pain in my heart. You are talking about of transparency concerning our money in this nation. And every day, we keep hearing people looting billions. And we, because we lost our sight, we are suffering. We are going through pain. For the past 3 days, I stay alone. I know the hell I've gone through. They are not giving us job. We cannot see our honorable or our senators. We cannot see our chairman. Oh my God. And this pain is getting too much. Please, Mommy Obey. They should help people with disability.
Absolutely.
I'm one of them. But since Wednesday, I've been trying to commit suicide because I'm just tired.
Don't do that.
Please don't do that.
And NBC for I didn't remember again. Look at the billions of money they looted. There's nobody to accountable for anything. Is it not watching me dump into Lago?
No, Joy. Don't,
Joy, please. Let me please urge you. I actually feel very affected by what you're saying, and I think that sometimes when people take money in the way that you've described, looting our money, they act as though it doesn't have an effect on people. It does have an effect.
I want to fill a gas. Just
no,
300.
don't.
I cannot afford it.
Okay, Joy, we have your... this is painful, but we have your number, Joy. The call handler has your number, so we'll get in touch with you. This is really painful.
Because then they can get your details and get some assistance to you directly.
So call handler, please help us save Joy's number. Ebuka, I see, is calling in from Mushin. Hello, Ebuka.
Yeah, good evening.
All right, good evening.
It's very, very, very painful and unfortunate things to I listened to when someone was saying it's unfortunate for us to copy the USA, the Americans, and at the end of the day here, we don't even implement. See, this COVID-19 has done us more harm than good. It's unfortunate that...
Ebuka, are you there?
Hello.
Okay.
Just have a minute left in my time. So, we've been presented with so many realities that we are confused of what we want to really say, this is this, to get, because of there's no transparency, because there is no communication. Let us know the real thing. This COVID-19, like in the market, anywhere you go, my people, they are not in Christmas is just thing of the past. Social distancing and fire. So I think the communication, they should just let us know all these lockdown.
Well, Emeka, I would say that
Ebuka,
I would say that we thank God that for one reason or the other, whether it's because God looked at us and said, "I beg, please leave those people," but for one reason or the other, we have not been as badly affected by COVID. I mean, I talked about the testing, but the truth is that if we were really dying in large numbers from COVID-19, it would certainly be, it wouldn't be possible to hide it. But the point is that this was an opportunity for us. This was an opportunity for us. We looked at our health system and we said, there's a big gap there.
Yeah.
The private sector rushed in and so on. But what has happened since then? Have we said we need to sustain this so that we don't have to go abroad to treat neck pain and all these other things? Let's make our healthcare system one that can be responsive to these sorts of situations. Or we talked about education, the impact that it had on education when people had to stay home. What have we taken advantage of saying, well, all this money that was going to go into building, isolation centers and so on, we can still put it to good use. And I think that this, to me, is the possible real tragedy that COVID-19 will have, because we had Joy, we've had Ebuka, we've had others who can tell you that it's not just that they stayed home to try and preserve their lives, but that in staying home, they have had their livelihood destroyed.
Absolutely.
It's possible that we can go to the market and to various other places. There are shops that will not allow you to enter and so on. But the truth is that it's an ecosystem. People may be having birthday parties, but if I want to invite, I didn't invite anybody to my 65th birthday because so that industry is gone, and people depend on those industries, and it has a feeder effect. So we need to realize that that even though we may say we are no longer worried about COVID, there are still enough people who have, and whether it's because it's seen as one that primarily affects the richer people in society, they are the people who are the ones who are not oiling the machinery of life in our towns and cities and our country. So I think that we do need to understand that the money that we could have spent on those things, there's a good way to use it. There are good places to use it. And, whether it's in training, whether it's in airtime, whether it's in being able to operate businesses for the digital age with social distancing. We have to go into those, and the money that has been collected could go into those to alleviate, not just by handing people food every now and then, but to actually equip them for the future that is coming.
Absolutely.
Because we're not, even though people are going back to markets and so on, the reality is that we're not going to go back to quite the same way that we were.
Very true. I see we have Paul, is it?
Yeah, good evening.
Thank you for holding on, Paul.
Yeah,
Paul
that woman that was crying, please, how can one make a donation? I was touched. Instead of her committing suicide?
No, she's not going to commit suicide. We're in touch with her. We have her number. So
okay, how can one make contribution?
Don't worry about the contributions. We'll take care of it from here.
How do I send something?
It's a difficult thing right now because we don't have that platform here too. But I assure you, we're going to get in touch with her. But just go ahead and make your contribution on I.D.E.A.S today.
No, I just want to.
Okay. Oh, this is what you just. Okay. All right.
Yes,
thank you for your.
All right. It's because of her cry. It touched me.
All right.
I'm sure
I just want to make donation.
And get back to you about what the outcome was. I hope that.
Yeah. Thank you for your kind heart, Paul.
Which just reminds us that Nigerians are not the devils.
No, they're not.
We are not. That's why I want to stress these qualities: integrity, ethics, accountability.
Okay, so I think I can get on WhatsApp before. Let's see who we have here. This is Joseph, who says it is surprising that since the church reopened in Lagos State, the COVID-19 starts to decrease. What is happening? Thank you.
Well, it's because it has been decreased that people have been able to go back to churches.
Yes. Oluwafemi Adapapa says, what is a democracy without accountability? What is a system without free and independent thinkers? It is really unfortunate we lack this in a large quantity. God bless ideas. So who will bring sanity to a systemic lunacy? We need ideas.
You will have ideas. I mean, definitely the program is ended. As I said, it was a 2-year project with the MacArthur Foundation and CITAD. But my hope is that you will try to always look for the ideas component. Whenever you see something and you want to think of a way of how to unpack it, ask yourself, did this meet up with the virtues or the values that would be in accord with ideas? And to always look for that, whether somebody is campaigning for your vote, and it could be your local society, it could be your neighborhood association. It's everywhere, and it's something that we can all apply in our lives and when we look at what is happening in public affairs too.
Absolutely. Leke calling in from Shagamu in Ogun State.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, hello, Leke. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to greet Mr. Kantankoye. We listen to me wherever you are listening. I want to greet you and congratulate you and console with your father that just lost. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Leke.
Okay. And also I want to ask Nigeria that they please support me on physical challenge. I just released a song titled Prayer and Singer by Lake Aghogho. It's not on YouTube. I need support of all Nigeria to please go to my YouTube page and subscribe. I mean, download the song Prayer and Singer by Lake Aghogho on YouTube.
I've gone. It's a great song. I've gone on YouTube the other day.
Hello.
Always use the opportunity.
Hello.
All right, John. Great to have you join us.
Thank you very much. I'm calling from Unilag.
Excellent from Unilag.
See, I'm not happy with Nigerians. Let me tell you the truth right now. Our problem is us. Do you imagine that Nigerians will be talking about how do we go and protest for federal level? Federal level, federal government are giving state government money. State government are giving local governments money. The money is in the local government. They are spending that money on nothing. People are there suffering. They will give local government maybe like 3 billion or 4 billion, maybe monthly. I don't know. Imagine Nigerians cannot go there and protest. People in that area, in that local government, go and protest for their local government chairman. Do you think they will not bring that money out? If we do that in like 6 months on a regular, do you think Nigeria will be like this? What kind of thing is this one? They will give them money, they will not bring the money out, and they will allow people to be suffering. Road is not good, and they are giving them the money. What are they using the money for? And Nigerians are keeping quiet. They are talking about Buhari. Is Buhari our problem? Let's start disturbing local government chairman. Nigeria will change. Thank you,
John. Thank you for.
I mean, I think it's something for us to say that and Joy's case reminded me, because when I was president of the Civil Liberties Organization, we had a remarkable young man, David Anyele, and he had been in Liberia, and his hands had been cut off by the rebels, and he came home, and he did not approach the matter from please give me charity. He approached it from the matter of people with disabilities have rights. And that was why he found a home in the Civil Liberties Organization before they were able to set up their own. And there have been, since then, there have been others that it's no longer a matter of do charity to people with disabilities, but treat them as equal citizens and give them their rights. So I think that it's the same thing, what that young man was saying. I mean, whether it's done in the form of demonstration, whether it's done in the form of requiring accountability, sending messages and raising campaigns, the issue is that you have to be accountable to the people that you are supposed to be governing. You can't just say, I know better. This money has come in. And you look around and you see, well, nobody is actually dying from this thing, so I can do what I like. Yeah. It doesn't work like that.
Absolutely. Let's take this call from Thomas. Thomas is calling in from Surulere.
Hello?
Great. We can hear you, Thomas.
So good evening, Mr. Oboh.
Good evening, Thomas.
Yeah. God will continue to reward you guys for the good work you guys are doing at Nigeria Info. And to my auntie in the studio, Mrs. I.D.E.A.S, God will continue to bless you and your family as well.
Thank you very much.
I sympathize with Uncle Timis Ankore as well on his father's death. May he still continue to rest in peace as well.
Amen.
I just called to thank you guys for the good job you guys are doing. You guys are the reason why we Lagosians and Nigerians as a whole are smiling right now. Because our governments are not giving us anything to smile about. We really do appreciate Nigerian Info crew, everybody in the house, every member of Nigerian Info. God will continue to bless you guys.
But can I say that Nigeria Info's, what Nigeria Info is doing is that it's giving you the tools and the power and the confidence to demand what your elected representatives are supposed to deliver to you. So that it would, if it's just Nigeria Info saying things, it could just fall into an empty well. Absolutely. But if you as a citizen take up your office of the citizen and say, yes, it's a job. My job is as a citizen, and I'm entitled to be to have accountability.
Yes.
Then it feeds through. People in Lagos know that we are paying taxes, and we want something to show for those taxes. So I think that is where your part as part of the Nigeria Info team, and dare I say part of the I.D.E.A.S team, comes in.
Okay, Ayo, this will be our last call on Public Square and Ideas. Austin from Lekki, thank you for holding on.
Mr. Aghogho, I greet you greatly.
We greet you too.
Good evening, my able analyst. God bless
evening.
You. I want to deviate for, a little bit from your discussion this evening. I want to talk on Southern Kaduna killings.
But it's part of what we've, effectively it's part of what we've discussed, so it's not a deviation.
Okay, thank you very much. I wonder why, if we have a sitting president and equally a sitting governor of Kaduna State, a lot of bloodshed has been happening in Southern Kaduna, and to our total dismay, up to now, no common commission of inquiry has been set up to look inwards in what is happening in Southern Kaduna. And we are busy talking about Mali, how to maintain peace in Mali. Whereas here at home, a lot of souls are being wasted on a daily basis, and nobody's talking about it. Our president is not talking about anything about that. Kaduna State Governor is not talking anything about that. What he's busy doing is want to come and address the Nigerian Bar Association. Is that what we elected him for?
All right, Austin. Thank you very much.
Well, we did talk about the issue of the Nigerian Bar Association invitation and why these issues of citizenship actually also feed into the Southern Kaduna issue. The issue of whether or not the governor is speaking or not has come and gone.
A lot of things going on. I've seen a number of
peace initiatives.
They've been sign of memorandum among. So a lot is actually happening.
Things are certainly happening, and whether the people who have made it an issue can say that we have forced it onto the national agenda. One way or the other, it is certainly on the national agenda. And as I said, the government is accountable for our security. It doesn't matter what our face is. But as I say, at the same time, we either have to move forward with solutions or we can look back to the past. But I want to, I say that there's an ideas component in everything, and that's really my response to the last caller. There is accountability that government owes us, integrity, ethics, if we're to have a functioning democracy. And as I say goodbye and ring off on this program, I want to please. You have a bell, Aghogho. I know you're keeping that bell somewhere. You want to drum me out of the studio. But I just want to say that please, don't say that because I.D.E.A.S is not there to drone on about integrity, democracy, ethics, and accountability. You're no longer going to look for those things. Rather, I'm expecting that you will be able to identify where those things are lacking, to demand that they should be put in place so that we can say that even though I'm not with you in person, that the spirit is living on.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure I will be that the rule of thumb for ideas continues to ring always true in all the discussions we have. Thank you very much, Ayo.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a great 2 years. Thank you very much.
A bientôt. Okay, so the news comes up next. Yvonne Ohaifa is waiting on the wings, and then music and moments with Sammy and Ifeanyi.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.